If you've ever flown 10 hours just to be greeted by silence, you know the kind of ache that settles in your bones. The kind that makes you wonder if you should have just stayed away. I stood in the arrivals hall, suitcase handle digging into my palm, watching families reunite with hugs and laughter. My phone buzzed. Mom's text. "We're outside." No heart emoji. No "can't wait to see you." Just those 2 words. I found their car by the curb. My brother's kids pressed against the window, faces sticky with fingerprints and candy. Mom didn't get out. She just popped the trunk and waved from the driver's seat, her eyes hidden behind sunglasses even though it was nearly midnight. I loaded my own bag, slid into the back, and tried to catch her eye in the rearview mirror. She didn't look back. The drive home was quiet except for the kids fighting over a tablet. My brother Mark turned around once to smirk at me. "Jet lagged already, sis." I forced a smile. "Just tired." He laughed, nudging his wife, who didn't bother to say hello. The car smelled like fast food and old coffee. I pressed my forehead to the window and watched the city lights blur by, counting the minutes until I could crawl into bed. When we pulled into the driveway, Mom finally spoke. "You'll take the guest room. The kids are in your old room." I nodded, dragging my suitcase up the steps. The house looked the same faded wreath on the door, same porch light flickering. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of cinnamon and something burnt. I set my bag down and waited for someone to say, "Welcome home." No one did. Instead, Mom handed me a list. "Here's the schedule for the week. Breakfast at 7. The kids need to be dressed and fed. Mark and I are taking a trip with Dad and Lisa. We'll be back Sunday." I stared at the paper, the words blurring. "Wait, you're leaving?" She didn't answer, just turned away to check her phone. Mark grinned, tossing his keys on the counter. "Don't let them wipe their snot on you, okay?" His kids giggled, already plotting chaos. I tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. Mom was already packing snacks into a cooler, her movements brisk and practiced. "We'll leave early. There's food in the fridge. Don't let them eat too much sugar." I wanted to ask why she'd begged me to come home if she was just going to leave. I wanted to ask why I was always the one expected to drop everything, to fly across the world, to be the responsible one. But I bit my tongue. I'd learned a long time ago that asking questions only led to sighs and eye rolls. That night, I lay awake in the guest room, listening to the house settle around me. The walls were thin. I could hear Mark and his wife laughing in the next room, the kids whispering secrets in my old bed. I stared at the ceiling, tracing the cracks I remembered from childhood, and wondered if I'd made a mistake coming back. The next morning, the house was empty except for the kids and me. A note on the fridge, "Gone to the lake. Back Sunday, thanks." No signature. No smiley face. I made pancakes, poured juice, tried to keep the kids from fighting. They were wild, loud, sticky-fingered. Every time I tried to set a boundary, they laughed. "You're not the boss of us," one of them shouted, syrup dripping down his chin. By noon, I was exhausted. I texted Mom, no reply. I called Mark, straight to voicemail. I tried to keep the kids entertained, but they were bored, restless, always one step away from disaster. I cleaned up spills, broke up fights, bandaged a scraped knee. I felt invisible, like a ghost haunting my own childhood home. On the second day, I found myself scrolling through old messages from Mom. Most were short, clipped reminders about birthdays or bills, but one caught my eye, a message from last year. "Can you send money for Dad's medication? We'll pay you back." I remembered wiring the money, no questions asked. There were others, requests for help with the mortgage, for school supplies for the kids, for groceries when Mark was between jobs. Each time I'd sent what I could, sometimes more than I could afford. I opened my banking app and started scrolling. The numbers added up fast. $200 here, $500 there, $1,000 for the car repair, another few hundred for the kids' school trip. I started making a list just to see. By the time the kids were asleep, I had a spreadsheet with dates, amounts, and reasons. The total at the bottom made my stomach twist. I stared at the list, anger simmering beneath the exhaustion. I thought about all the times I'd been told I was selfish for living so far away, For not coming home more often? For not being part of the family? I thought about the way Mom's voice always softened when she needed something. How Mark only called when he was in trouble. I thought about the way they'd laughed when I arrived. Like I was the punchline to a joke I'd never heard. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let them walk all over me anymore. I wasn't going to be the invisible sibling, the backup babysitter, the family ATM. I was done, but I didn't say anything. Not yet, I waited. I played my part, kept the kids alive, cleaned up the messes. I smiled when Mom called to check in, told her everything was fine. I let Mark's wife send me lists of chores, let the kids run wild. I waited for them to come home, for the moment when they'd expect me, to thank them for the privilege of being included. I waited for the right moment to say what I'd been holding in for years. Sunday morning, the house was chaos. Suitcases thudded onto the floor, laughter and voices echoing down the hallway. I was in the kitchen, wiping syrup off the counter, when the front door burst open. Mom swept in first, sunglasses perched on her head, cheeks flushed from the cold. Mark and his wife followed, dragging bags and souvenirs, the kids tumbling in behind them, already fighting over who got the biggest cookie from the bakery box. Mom barely glanced at me. "Did you remember to water the plants?" she asked, dropping her purse on the table. "And did you get the mail? I hope you didn't let the kids eat too much sugar." She didn't wait for an answer, just started unpacking groceries, humming under her breath. Mark grinned at me, tossing his jacket onto a chair. "So how'd it go? The kids still alive?" His wife laughed, ruffling her son's hair. "You survived, huh? Maybe we should leave them with you more often." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "They're fine. No broken bones, no fires. You're welcome." No one said thank you. No one asked how I was. The kids ran past me, tracking mud onto the carpet. Mom started giving orders, laundry, dishes, unpacking. I moved through the motions, biting my tongue, watching as my family slipped back into their routine, as if I was just another piece of furniture. After lunch, Mom called everyone into the living room. "Let's do presents before dinner," she said, clapping her hands. The kids squealed, tearing into gift bags. Mark handed me a small box wrapped in shiny paper. "Here from all of us." I opened it. Inside was a mug that said, "World's Okayest Sister." Everyone laughed. I forced a smile, my fingers tightening around the handle. Mom handed out envelopes, gift cards for the kids, a spa voucher for Mark's wife, a new wallet for Mark. She turned to me, her smile tight. "We didn't know what you'd want, so we just got you the mug. Hope that's okay." I nodded, setting the mug aside. "It's perfect," I said, my voice flat. Dinner was loud, everyone talking over each other. Stories from the trip, plans for the week. I listened, invisible as always, clearing plates, refilling drinks, laughing at the right moments. When dessert was served, Mark raised his glass. "To family," he said, grinning. "And to our favorite babysitter." Everyone cheered. I smiled, but inside something snapped. I looked at the faces around the table, my mother, my brother, his wife, the kids. I thought about the list in my pocket. The years of favors, the money sent, the sacrifices made. I thought about the 10-hour flight, the cold welcome, the mug that was more joke than gift. I stood up, my hands steady. "Actually," I said, my voice calm, "I have something for you too." The room went quiet. All eyes turned to me. I reached into my bag and pulled out a stack of papers, my spreadsheet, printed and highlighted every dollar, every date, every favor listed in black and white. "I made a list," I said, laying the papers on the table, "of everything I've done for this family. Every time I sent money, every time I changed my plans, every time I was asked to help." I added it up. "With interest." Mark laughed, thinking it was a joke. "What, you want us to pay you back?" I looked at him, my expression unreadable. "Yes, I do." Mom's face went pale. She reached for the papers, scanning the numbers, her lips moving as she read. Mark's wife frowned, pulling the kids closer. The room was silent except for the sound of pages turning. "I'm not doing this to be petty," I said, my voice steady. "I'm doing this because I'm tired. Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of being the only one who gives and never gets anything back. You asked me to come home for the holidays, but you didn't want me, you wanted free childcare. You wanted someone to clean up your messes. Well, I'm done. Mom started to protest, her voice trembling. We're family. Families help each other. I nodded. They do. But it's supposed to go both ways. I've been helping for years. When was the last time any of you helped me? No one answered. Mark looked away, his jaw clenched. His wife stared at the table. The kids were quiet, sensing the tension. I took a deep breath. I'm not asking for all the money back. I know that's not realistic, but I am asking for respect, for acknowledgement, for you to see me as more than just the backup plan. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know you felt this way. I shrugged. You never asked. The silence stretched. Finally, Mark spoke, his voice low. How much? I slid the top page toward him. It's all there. Every dollar, every date. I kept the receipts. He scanned the list, his face flushing. This can't be right. You gave us this much? I nodded, and I never asked for anything in return. Not until now. Mom reached for my hand, her grip tight. We're sorry. We should have said thank you. We should have done more. I pulled my hand away, gentle but firm. It's not about apologies. It's about change. I'm not going to keep giving until there's nothing left of me. If you want me in your life, it has to be different. The room was quiet. I stood there, waiting, my heart pounding. For the first time, I felt seen. Not as the helper, not as the babysitter, but as a person with boundaries, with needs, with a voice. Mom whispered, No way. Her voice was small, almost afraid. I looked at her, my eyes clear. Yes, way. No one moved. The only sound was the clock ticking on the wall, each second stretching the silence tighter. I could see the shock on their faces, Mom's hand frozen over the receipts, Mark's jaw working as he tried to find words, his wife's eyes darting between us like she was hoping someone would break the tension with a joke. But there were no jokes left. I sat down, folding my hands in my lap. I know this is a lot, but I needed you to see it. I needed you to understand what it's been like for me. My voice was steady, but inside my heart was racing. I'd rehearsed this moment in my head 100 times, but nothing could prepare me for the way it actually felt. To finally say what I'd been holding in for years, Mark was the first to speak. You should have said something sooner. His voice was defensive, but there was a crack in it, a hint of guilt. We didn't know you were keeping track. I met his eyes. That's the problem, Mark. You never thought you had to. You just assumed I'd always be there, no matter what? Mom's shoulders slumped. She looked older than I remembered, her confidence gone. I'm sorry, she whispered. I really am. I thought you liked helping. You always said yes. I nodded. Because I wanted to be included. Because I thought if I kept giving, maybe one day you'd see me, not just as the helper, but as your daughter. As your sister. Mark's wife cleared her throat. What do you want us to do now? I took a breath. I want you to start treating me like family. Real family. That means respect. That means not expecting me to drop everything for you. That means asking, not assuming. And yes, if you can pay me back for some of what I've given, I'd appreciate it. But more than anything, I want things to change. The kids were quiet, watching us with wide eyes. I softened my tone. This isn't about punishing anyone. It's about being honest. I can't keep pretending everything's fine when it isn't. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Mom reached for her purse, pulling out her checkbook with trembling hands. I can pay you back for the groceries and the medicine, she said quietly. It's not everything, but it's a start. Mark nodded, rubbing his face. I'll transfer what I can. I didn't realize how much you'd done for us. I felt a weight lift from my chest, not all of it, but enough to breathe. Thank you, I said softly. That means more than you know. We sat together in the living room, the air heavy but different. For the first time, I felt like my words had landed. Like maybe things could actually change. Mom handed me a check, her eyes shining with tears. I'm sorry I made you feel invisible, she said. You're not. You never were. I smiled, a real smile this time. I just wanted to come home and feel like I belonged. Mark stood up, awkward but sincere. Next time you come home, you're a guest. No chores, no babysitting. Just family. His wife nodded, pulling the kids into a hug. We'll do better. All of us. The kids ran over, wrapping their arms around me. We love you, Auntie, they said, voices muffled against my shirt. I hugged them back, feeling the last of my anger melt away. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Mom found me in the kitchen. She sat down across from me, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. I know I can't fix everything, she said quietly, but I want to try. I want you to feel like you matter here. I looked at her, seeing not just my mother, but a woman who was trying, maybe for the first time, to understand. Thank you, I said. That's all I ever wanted. We sat in silence, the kind that feels comfortable, not heavy. I thought about the years I'd spent trying to earn my place, the sacrifices I'd made, the love I'd given without expecting anything in return. I realized I didn't regret any of it, not really. It had made me strong. It had taught me what I deserved. The next morning, as I packed my bag for the flight home, Mom slipped an envelope into my hand. For your next visit, she said, smiling. No strings attached. At the airport, Mark hugged me for the first time in years. Take care of yourself, okay? And don't be a stranger. I promised I wouldn't. As the plane took off, I looked out the window watching the city shrink beneath me. I felt lighter than I had in a long time, not because I'd gotten paid back, but because I'd finally spoken up. Because I'd finally been heard. Sometimes coming home isn't about where you are. It's about who you are when you get there. And for the first time, I was home to myself.